The following is brought to you by the PLD Projects Network. It's me. It's PLD.
You know what's really funny to me is that right before we started recording this, you said a line out loud to me, which is a thing I never believe in my mind you would actually say, and that's fuck whiskey.
I did.
And I know this is very random to start this episode, but PLD, for the love of God, there's a lot of things in the world that we need to worry about. Fuck whiskey is not one of them. Just because the whiskey made you emotional and you started texting people doesn't make it bad.
Look, it wasn't just, texting people. I said something that I wasn't, I second guessed myself after I sent the text. Like, wait, did that person know that? Or am I not supposed to know that? I was in my head and I said, I just went, fuck whiskey in my head. And that's just what, but it turned out it was okay. So I could unfuck whiskey and whiskey's my friend again. We're okay again. It was a bad moment.
Whiskey is all of our friends. Let's be very real here.
Absolutely. It was just a bad moment. We had a little fight, a brief fight for a second. We're back on board with each other. You know, all relationships have a fight every once in a while. It's okay. It's healthy we grow from it. We learn. And I'm back on whiskey's side, and whiskey has forgiven me.
Well,
Trust
I'm glad
me.
to hear that at least. No, I'm going to say that much. But, man, I'm happy we're here because we're talking Halloween Kills today, a very divisive entry in the Halloween franchise, which also means we're almost to the end of this thing.
Not only that, we're almost at the end. If you're listening to this right now, you'll probably getting an extra bonus episode really late tonight. This is going up. This is going up on Thursday, the 13th, and if everything goes the way it's supposed to go, we might be recording that night and just getting it up sometime overnight. So you might wake up the next morning and go, "Oh my God, Two Mediocre White Dudes have the episode on Halloween Ends ready."
Because
not promising,
mediocre white dudes can get it up. I just want that noted. It is. We can get it up.
That is. I am definitely older, but I'm still functional.
You just said it, and I was like, well, now I have to make the joke. It's just right there. So fuck you, number one, forcing that on me.
That might have been the one time I might have said fuck whiskey a couple times before that, maybe just at other points in my life. But see, whiskey and I are still friends again, so yes, it's okay.
Okay, well, there's that. I gotta say though, because we tend to be horror adjacent heavy here.
Yes,
would be that's how I would describe our podcast: horror adjacent heavy. Correct.
I would actually just horror heavy, and if we go off, then it's adjacent because I think the only non-horror we've done so far is Lord of the Rings, and that was and
it has horror. I even called Fellowship of the Ring a horror film.
It is. It actually is. There's definitely big horror parts about it. But no, we've done Scream, the Conjuring franchise, Lord of the Rings, Halloween, and we're talking about doing Friday the 13th. We're talking about doing Evil Dead. We're talking about doing a bunch of other things as well. So yeah, we are horror heavy, and we can go away from horror. We just don't choose to very often.
So, with that wonderful little monologue you had there in talking about this, I got to bring up something that came out earlier this week, which you and I have both watched. We were both quite big fans of it, and that was Marvel Studios' Werewolf by Night.
Yes.
Their first horror special that they've ever done. Yes. Directed by Michael Giacchino. And holy shit, dude, what a fucking special that ended up being.
See, I'll throw you under the bus and say it's not really throwing you under the bus, but how much you were looking forward to this. Like this was like your pinnacle of Marvel this year almost. Yeah. It felt like that's what we were talking about. I was not looking forward to it quite like you were. I was looking forward to it though. But I was very happy for you. But when I sat down and watched it, I just have to say this might be my favorite Marvel bit this year. I got to be honest with you. It's right up there with some of the other ones because this was just
right up there with Multiverse Madness for me.
Extremely, and the end of Love and Thunder for me, just due to the appearance of Roy Kent. But yes, this was. This is a great entry into the franchise, into the universe. A short, compact entry, which is kind of cool. I think this is the kind of thing we should be doing more often. Quick, 1 hour specials involving these safe to say D-list characters that some of them have we love these characters, but they don't.
Did you just call Man-Thing a D-list character, motherfucker?
Let's be honest. He might be C-list.
You put respect on Ted's name.
I love Ted.
You respect Ted, goddammit.
What is Ted then? Honestly, what is Ted? In the grand scheme of of Marvel heroes, villains, properties, Ted is not going to be the A-list guy who brings in billions of dollars.
You don't know that. You don't know.
It could happen, but
Man Thing
frankly
could be
speaking,
$1 billion
hey,
movie.
it's not about whether I love Man Thing. I love Ted. I love all these characters. I'm actually just surprised. I was really surprised. But tell me you weren't a little bit surprised that we got something going in this way and then it ended up being as good as it was.
I mean, look, man, I was already fucking excited for it is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
And you know that, like you just said, it was my most anticipated thing for like the last year as far as the stuff in this universe was concerned outside of Multiverse of Madness because Sam Raimi. Right. So going into this, I was super excited. When we got that first trailer last month, I was so blown away by it being black and white, having that like real 1930s, 1940s Universal monster feel and vibe. And the thing is it kept that all the way through. That's the thing that impressed me the most, is that this thing was like for real a Universal monster movie.
Yeah, it never once deviated into anything else. Like I expected it to as well. I kind of had some kind of like try to tie it into the grand Marvel universe as a whole. Nope, didn't do a thing about it. It just stuck the landing like it was supposed to stick the landing. It was all like just so well crafted and well. I can't say enough about it.
And it's so funny because like between this and the episode of She-Hulk we got this week, I feel like Marvel had the best 1-2 punch that they've had in a long time on the Disney Plus front.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Of being remarkably well made, remarkably interesting, considering the constraints of being television shows and bigger parts of a bigger universe. And yet both of them ended up being really special in different ways. One, obviously, the obvious is Charlie Cox coming back as Daredevil for the first time, not as Matt Murdock, as Daredevil.
Right.
My words were very specific. Internet, calm down.
They're ready to jump on you, aren't they? I could tell them they're already ready to jump on you for it.
Yeah. And then between this, where you had something like Michael Giacchino, who was kind of shooting his shot with a bigger directorial debut like this, with a bunch of, you're not wrong, D-level horror characters. Like it's not like they're using Dracula or Morbius or Blade. No, they used Man-Thing and Werewolf by Night. They used Bloodstone. Like, are you kidding me? They were using all sorts of stuff that, honestly, the thing I think that I get so surprised about the most when I look at these and talk about these is I live in a world where this stuff is actually happening and is like a normal thing.
Yeah. And not only that, what great exposure to these characters and these things that some people have never even thought of. Like, for example, we're friends with Christian Harloff. I work for him, so I saw his review recently, and he reviewed it. He came in saying he had no anticipated. This was like his least anticipated thing. He didn't care about it at all, whatever. But he watched it, and he was like, "I'm all in on it. I really enjoyed it." And that's the kind of audience we're going to get with these characters who would never get this audience before. I mean, comic book readers in general, but back in the day, comic book readers were already shunned. These were like these are like the comic book readers would shun these guys. People who
I'm one of the few people who I have like the huge Steve Gerber Man-Thing omnibus. You've seen it. I have it.
Yeah.
But you're right. This is 100%. He was the one, like I would say I was reading those comics and I would get looked at like I was a nerd by nerds.
Exactly. It's fun. And I guess that's a great triumph for us, for people like us who love these things and everything else. And it's just, I'm very happy it exists and that it was done well.
Dude, not just well. It like there's a sequence in that is like this crazy action beat towards the end of the episode that the camera just sits and kind of lingers as it slowly pans forward. And it's a little reminiscent of some of the hallway fights in the Daredevil Netflix series.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
In a very different capacity, and it was so cool because it let it sit to kind of partake in the violence in a way that the Marvel stuff just generally doesn't.
Right.
And that's the other thing is it was like actually violent for being a Marvel Studios thing. It's really bloody and really violent, but it's black and white, so they're kind of able to get away with it in a way that you may not have been able to do in color without people being really upset.
I was about to say, I wonder which came first. Did the black and white come first or the blood come first?
Oh, I'm sure it was pitched as black and white, but also violent would be my guess. Because it's very clear that Giacchino is like a huge fan of the Universal monsters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%.
Because it 100% has that feel of every one of those classic Universal monster movies that we grew up loving. And that's a franchise that, God, somewhere down the line, I would love to do it, but it would take us almost a year probably to like properly cover all of them in every aspect. And I can't even imagine the manpower it would take into doing it. But God, I want to do that so badly because shout out to them even using it because that's the original cinematic universe. So it's kind of fitting to be doing a love letter to it.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Sorry, I'm like just super hyped up on it. And
no, good.
I keep thinking about between that and She-Hulk, I learned something this weekend that I think is like an important thing that Marvel needs to learn.
Mm-hmm.
They need to do more Marvel team up type things. They should really do Marvel team up as a TV show.
Yeah.
Do stuff like this, the She-Hulk and the Daredevil. You can do it for 30 minutes. You can do it for 40 minutes. You can do it for an hour, whatever it needs to be. And you just team up some of the heroes outside of the bigger stories that they're doing and let them hang out. Like that's She-Hulk was so fucking charming. And so was this.
Yeah.
Like,
that'd be great. I love the Marvel team up books. They're great. I mean,
too.
You could even, and if you need to, I mean, I don't have to, but I know for a comic book they used to do, they used to take a B-lister who couldn't really support his own title in the comic book and then use them as like a main person. Like you do Marvel 2-in-1, like the Thing from Fantastic Four, who was very popular, but maybe not quite popular enough to get his own title. They'd make him like the basis. So it'd be Thing and somebody else every week kind of thing. That could be something they could do. They could do a run of that, different characters like that. Give these like C-listers a chance to sell their own property. Maybe you could spin something out eventually because that's the kind of thing that makes them popular enough that you could see something that we could really, I mean, if you look back to what they've been doing in Marvel in general, look at Guardians of the Galaxy, which was a BC list team at all. I mean, would you be absolutely 100% shocked if you got like a Rocket Raccoon series at some point?
No,
I wouldn't.
I would absolutely not,
because Guardians was able to spawn that for him in a way.
That's what and Rocket's had comics.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like he's definitely had his own runs. You could definitely do that. And it's so funny because I was thinking about it. Spider-Man was very frequently the anchor of a lot of the Marvel team ups, especially the Ultimate run was like Spider-Man and who, basically. Right. Almost every time you open one of those, it was Spider-Man and who.
Right.
But the thing I've liked so far is like with Werewolf by Night, you had Werewolf by Night and Elsa Bloodstone. Or Werewolf by Night and Man-Thing, depending on how you want to look at it. Or as far as this She-Hulk episode was concerned, you had She-Hulk and Daredevil. Like, you're letting these characters live and have fun and do all these different things. And all I could think about is, man, I would just love to see more of that because, like you said, it helps them sell themselves, but it also just lets them have fun in a way that I don't think we see very frequently. Like, that was why I was so happy we got What If. No matter how divisive What If is, I was always going to be happy we got it because What If kind of captured exactly what I'm talking about in the same way. I loved the What If comics growing up. And so to get 20 to 30-minute episodes that are the MCU adjacent, hey, multiverse story where something is changed and dramatically does something with it. Now I'm getting to watch it. And I liked doing that in the same way that I like the Marvel team up stuff, but you can do that in continuity.
Well, I think that's what Marvel has to, I think Marvel does have to like look at more because the one downside you have to how they have this universe, this continuity, this whole like shared universe thing going on is that everything is supposed to be like big and huge. Everything leads into each other. And they got that main story. And it kind of limits you in terms of you can't have too many adventures off the cuff, especially the movies, because they all got to kind of sort of lead somewhere. Like the introduction of characters, introduction of beasts, introduction of villains, introduction of like Infinity Stones, whatever it is. But now that especially they have the Disney Plus thing going on, you can give these other characters time to shine away from like the big story, overall arching storyline. They can still be in the universe. They don't have to be. It doesn't have to matter what they're doing with the Infinity Gauntlet, what they're doing with whatever with Kang or whatever they're doing. They could just have their own little shining moment where Daredevil and She-Hulk have a great night together and beat up some goons and go home and take care of business. I mean, that's just like it's fun. It's fun stuff to watch.
I'm exactly with you because I'm actually, as much as I like the MCU stuff, you and I have had these conversations. I'm very tired. Because it's a lot to keep up with, and all the like world-ending stuff is so much. And I'm liking these smaller, more grounded, more fun potential takes on things. And this is just one of them, right? Like Werewolf by Night proved that you could do it. She-Hulk also has proved that you could do it because nothing about She-Hulk is like world-ending scenario type things. I think it's why I've liked so much of the TV show stuff outside of Loki, which was literally also still world-ending type of stuff.
Yes.
But Loki is built to be that way.
Yeah. Loki is my favorite thing Disney Plus watch.
So Loki is Loki your favorite?
I think so. Loki is my favorite. Yes. High key. I'll even say high key. Loki is my favorite.
Okay. Now, man, I'm enjoying it though, and I just wanted to say, like, you haven't checked out Werewolf by Night. I'm pretty sure most of our listeners probably have, but if you haven't, you should check it out. You might be impressed. You might have fun. It's a little different.
And I'll also throw out there, considering we are a horror-heavy podcast, a lot of our fans probably do like horror if they're listening to us. Check out Midnight Club on Netflix, the new entry into the Flaniverse as it is. I'm watching. I got 8 episodes in. I got 2 left. Mike Flanagan is probably, alongside James Wan, my most anticipated director of horror. Like, if I see their name on a horror project, I'm excited because they are always doing quality work. Quality work, and it's always very well crafted. It's always very well done, and I don't think I disliked anything that they've done, really. I mean, some I like better than others, but I would say the Midnight Club is definitely a little bit off kilter for Mike Flanagan in terms of it's definitely more YA. It's definitely more of a PG horror. If that doesn't wet your whistle, you might not love it. But if you like Mike Flanagan and you love any types of horror, like, I mean, Fear Street was similar to a degree.
I loved Fear Street. That was one of my favorites last year.
We love Fear Street. I mean, there's not a lot of gore in this here and there in this one, in Midnight Club. But there's a great story to be told, and there's some good creep factors because Mike Flanagan knows what he's doing. So I haven't finished yet, so I can't tell you if it's stuck the landing or not. But the first 8 episodes, I'm all in. So get yourself to Mike Flanagan, support him because I want to see him do more things. And I was just actually very happy. As I was telling PJ before we went live, I'm very happy that he actually does have a film coming out because I love Netflix. I love his series. I love all of his series. I can't wait for Fall of the House of Usher. But you know, me and PJ both are big screen movie guys. So give me a Mike Flanagan on the big screen. I'm all for that. So I'd like to see both. Give me both.
Give me both. Also, I will say, speaking of horror, wow, we're just doing like our week in pop culture. I really want everyone who does not have Shudder to get Shudder for this next recommendation. Or if you have it, great. Now I don't have to hassle you into doing it. But you guys should get Shudder and watch Deadstream, which was a movie that came out on there this week, which is basically Evil Dead if it was found footage, and it is such a fucking treat and one of the most fun surprises I've had all year. It was a movie that I had seen nothing about. Tim Franco, friend of the podcast, was like, hey, you should really check in on this. I think you'd really like it. So I did, and I was pleasantly surprised how blown away I ended up being by it. It is just so fucking fun. So Shudder remains winning on the horror front, and for the spooky time of year, you should probably have Shudder anyway. Because what you shouldn't be watching anything not horror right now anyway.
Yeah, I never understood that people watching non-horror stuff right now. Who they think they are.
Wrong is who they are.
They are. They're very wrong. Absolutely. But all right. Well, you know what? Here we are.
We're going to talk about it, huh?
I guess we should get into probably is this the most divisive Halloween film we know?
Outside of maybe Zombies Halloween.
Yeah, I actually I guess that's
Zombie
true.
Halloweens, period. I should say.
Yeah.
Because Halloween 2 clearly continues to be divisive, or H2 rather. And Zombies Halloween is also very divisive still within the fandom. But I don't think anything comes. I think those are probably the closest to what is easily the most divisive Halloween film ever made, which is David Gordon Green's Halloween Kills.
Yeah, that's for sure. In our time, in our community, my God, we have tried to stand up to this onslaught of negativity, and we will continue to do so because, I mean, we're not going to rate it. We're not going to rank it now. We'll rate it to the end like we usually do, but I'll spoil it a little bit up front. We both love this movie. We both have a lot of fun with this movie.
Yeah, look, I'll never forget when I saw it in theaters. When opening night, I was in New York. I was with a couple of our friends, and I will never forget. As soon as the movie ended, one of our friends turned and looked at me and goes, "Well, that was just a giant piece of shit." And I looked, and I had the biggest smile on my face, and I was like, "I loved every fucking minute of this movie." And it just was from that moment on, I realized just how badly divisive this was ultimately going to be.
Right.
And it has not gotten better as time has gone on. We're only a year out from this movie's release, with Halloween Ends coming out literally this week.
Which also might tie the kills for being the most divisive film from things we're hearing here and there. We'll have to find out if we like it or not.
But I gotta say, man, like, coming off of Halloween, I was very curious what they were going to do, just in general. And this is such a starkly middle chapter type movie in a big trilogy, which is part of why I think there is like some sort of weird pushback to it, because there's not really a set story here. This is the new Halloween 2, if you will, where it picks up literally as the last movie ends and ends the night.
Right.
But there's just something about it that is so endlessly fucking cool to me.
Yeah.
That, like, borderlines almost... how do I say this? It borderlines almost obscenely onto fan servicey in a way that is so fucking fun to me, because this is a movie that decides to be a love letter to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 in some capacities. And I would even say the zombie films in some capacities, because Michael is easily the most brutal he has been in any of the movies in this.
And Jamie is probably the most unhinged she's been.
Yeah. And I find every moment of it fucking glorious in some weird way. I can't tell you what it is, man. Like, I rewatched it today, getting ready for this podcast, and was sort of just blown away all over again, where I was like, why do people dislike this movie so much? This movie fucking rocks.
I have a theory, and I don't know how true this is or not. It's pretty much universally accepted. Pretty much. I can't say universally, because obviously there's some detractors, but for the most part, Halloween 1978 is the best film in the franchise by far. I mean, we agree with that. That's our favorite one, and that's that's the Mount Olympus of it, so to speak. Halloween 2018 was kind of a love letter to Halloween and to a point Halloween 2. I will actually, let me add it. Denim said Halloween 78 being the best. A lot of people consider Halloween 2 like right up alongside Halloween 1. We don't. We are two that kind of definitely detracted from that. But if you look at like a lot of the fandom of Halloween, they like Halloween 2 quite a bit.
Yeah.
Fine.
Which is fine. I mean, it's not even it's bad. It's just coming off of it and our rewatch, I realize how little I care about that one. As weird as
that's what it is. It's more caring about than anything else. But I will say, so Halloween 2018 Halloween 2018 put a lot of fans back because it was a big love letter to Halloween 1 and a little bit to 2. Outside of your peculiarity, not peculiarity, but you had that Halloween H2O hang up, which I understand completely. But this film, The Halloween Kills, it feels like such a big love letter to like the 4, 5, 6, the middle, the sequel of the show, which the main core fans don't like as much. And so they don't appreciate the love letter that Halloween Kills is to kind of like the rest of the franchise. And I think that's part of it. I do think.
I think you are onto something. I also do think that the truth is that there's also a world where I think the truth about this movie is David Gordon Green looked at what was going around and on around us at the time. And when he made the movie, he was not exactly, how do I put this mildly? He beats you over the head. There's no subtlety. There's no subtlety in this movie about what it's dealing with in what the town becomes when Michael returns. There's nothing lost on me that it is so clearly part of what has been going on in the real world with doesn't matter if it was the stuff about how people were acting with COVID or the MAGA kids and the stuff with politics. Like, this movie is going after everything and everyone around it.
Right.
Quite literally.
Yeah. And it's definitely got it's over the top about it. Like most of the Halloween sequels are. That's the thing is, you don't go into Halloween expecting a intelligent film to address it. Intelligent might not be the right word I'm looking for, but it's not supposed to be a highbrow social commentary.
Yeah, they're seen as schlocky. They're not really seen as social commentary. You're not wrong.
So they have the attempt to do this, but they try to do it in a very schlocky, kind of campy B movie way. Mm-hmm. And in that case, I think it's extremely successful in what it tries to do. Yes, it's over the top. Yes, it beats you in the head. It's a blunt force trauma, just like fucking Michael's going to give you with a crowbar. I mean, that's what it is. That's what the franchise is. And on that level, that's why I think it works tremendously well.
I do too. And that's the funny thing is that I think that ultimately I actually am glad that they did it, because the truth of the matter is no matter how much I really like these movies, there is something to be said about they're not exactly also saying anything. And I'm not saying you have to say anything to be good, obviously.
No.
But it was interesting for it to kind of take a stand, because it was something I noted about H2. I thought H2 was very, very upfront with how it was dealing with how people deal with mental illness. And, we talked about that a lot. Yep. And it felt very pointed in the things that it was saying about how people treat people. And it was trying something. Whether it was successful or not is another thing entirely, depending on your frame of reference. But I appreciate David Gordon Green's attempt at trying to do something different with this, but also keeping it a Halloween film.
And it desperately is that. It's definitely that.
It is. And I'll say this too. Even though Laurie is basically sidelined for most of the movie, I'm cool with it, because I feel like she's 100% felt throughout the movie, but it also gives us a chance to spend more time with some of the characters in these movies around it. Because the truth of the matter is something I said in our last podcast about 2018, is that there's a lot of characters. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Almost too much. This movie gives them a chance. Sorry.
A lot just because I agree with you. A lot of people didn't like how Laurie was sidelined. That was a big complaint about it. Like, Laurie's out of the loop. It's okay, because this is the trilogy.
Yeah.
This is the trilogy. And you can't have Laurie and Michael the entire time. It just would be so tiring to have that. You have to have some build-up. You have to have some respite. We just had a big battle at the end of the first, out of 2018, between the three Strode women and Michael. So taking Laurie out of it,
right where that ended,
and letting Laurie out of this one for a little bit gives her time to kind of build up the hype to the final battle which we're going to have. And this is actually a discussion that's hard to have, because a lot of people I've seen on Twitter and social media and stuff, and fans of the franchise even, it seems like they don't understand something, and I want to throw it out there for people to see if they understand how I understand it. Like, there's a lot of complaints that we are building this towards Laurie versus Michael, the final stand. That's what the marketing it is for this film, for Halloween Ends. That's what a lot of fans are talking about. That's what they want to see. And that's what fans want to see. And yet they're arguing the fact that, but this whole trilogy has been about it not being a Michael-Laurie thing, that Michael's not obsessed with Laurie. And I mentioned this a little bit last time, but just to reiterate what I'm trying to say is that the fans wanting it and the storyline are two different things. And the storyline is trying to give you both without overcommitting either way. The fans do want that. We want that. We want to see Michael versus Laurie one last time, because that's kind of like what this whole thing's been building to. It's the greatest scream queen of all time versus one of our favorite horror icons of all time. Of course, the final battle with them is going to be a fun toss around at that point. It's already made it quite clear several times over in this trilogy that Michael could give a shit. And that happens a couple times in this one, which I'll talk about when we get there. But Michael could care less about Laurie Strode. And that's a good thing. But Laurie is the one who's obsessed. And so
something that another character actually says to her in the movie.
Yes. And she comes to terms with in this too. There's a moment in the hospital sequence with her and Hawkins. She has a quiet moment. She says, I did this. Not Michael did this. I did this. I brought this on us because and she actually understands her mistakes to a degree. Mm-hmm. But she's saying it, so it's going to be an obsession thing. She only gets it partially, because even at the end of that speech, she's still like, I have to kill it. because she's taking responsibility. So she's unfortunately taking it almost the wrong way, is because she's still doubling down on it. She's like, yeah, I'm wrong, but I still got to be able to kill it now because I did it. It's like, no, you got to walk away, Lori. That's the goal. You should walk away. But if she walks away, we don't have a Halloween Ends, really, because you can't have a Halloween Ends without Laurie Strode at this point, because it wouldn't make any sense at all. As much as it is, Michael doesn't matter. Michael doesn't care, but the audience does care. And the story does care, and Laurie does care. So you can market it as that. It's not going against the grain of what the trilogy is trying to put forth. It's putting forth exactly that. And so as long as Michael isn't shown being obsessed with Laurie in any way, shape, or form, and he has not been at all, then it doesn't matter.
And I'll say this too, to your point on all of this, and something I want to talk about as far as this movie in particular is concerned, and that is going back to kind of what we were talking about before this, and that's people's feeling about how Haddonfield and its residents are treated in this movie.
Yes.
You know why it's necessary? Do you know why it's needed? Because you and I have talked about ad nauseum on here that Haddonfield seems to have no fucking reaction to Michael's existence in any of the movies, other than the people it has directly affected.
Correct.
For the first time, really, in any capacity, Haddonfield is fully shown to actually be traumatized, to being angry, to their frustrations about the situation, to the fact that no one told anyone that Michael had already escaped. And now they stand up for their town in some capacity because they feel left behind. They don't trust anyone because the cops didn't tell them and they didn't do anything about it. And now more people are dead. I love this side of the story. I think it's super important. Is it fucking bludgeoning you on the head? Yeah, sure. Maybe. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I know that people don't like the stuff with the extra mental patient.
The other mental health. Yes. The other survivor of the bus ride.
Yeah, the one that they wrongfully think is Michael, and they're chasing him, and he ends up dying. You know what, man? I'm going to be honest. You know why it doesn't bother me? Because it's fucking true. Whether you like it or not is another thing entirely. And maybe you don't want to see that type of stuff in your entertainment, and like that's fine, well and good, whatever. But for me, it works because that's real. That is real life. That is stuff we saw over the last couple of years.
Yep. And it could be just as simple. I'm saying it could be as simple as social media, even. Like, because social media, inciting of gang like violence or social media violence, if you want to call it that, whatever it is. It's so easy to just kind of like, oh, they did this wrong. Kill him, cancel him, toss him out, everything else. It happens all the time with things. And sometimes people just don't stop to think about things. And that's what this movie is actually showcasing. I honestly think some people don't like this because they don't like seeing that what they would do, possibly the situation. I think that's part of it. I think they kind of like, oh, you know what? Maybe we do that too often, too quickly. I mean, it's a scary concept. It's scary to look inward on yourself and say, well, what would I have done in that situation? Would I have done that? You can't really say what you had done because you weren't there. You're not there all hyped up about it, all energetic about it. Your family, your neighbors weren't killed. Your family is safe at home, whatever, because of this whole situation. I mean, this is a very distinct build. Haddonfield didn't care. I mean, we got to realize that we're retconning all we've seen in these films is Halloween and Halloween 2018 and then Halloween Kills. Halloween ended with only like three kills as far as they knew. I mean, because they said that at one point. I mean, there's more, but they don't count that, the getting to Haddonfield, so to speak. So that happened quickly in one night. Halloween Kills happens, and there's a shitload more kills. So
many more people have gotten attacked.
Absolutely at this point. So this is what a small town is going to do. They're going to step up. And especially when you talk about response to trauma, I actually think that some people have a problem with Anthony Michael Hall. I think Anthony Michael Hall's Tommy is spot on in place. Because you think about Tommy gets his experience with Michael as a kid, as a boy. And it's a toxic thing, maybe, but boys are supposed to be the fighters, supposed to take care of the family, supposed to be whatever, the men. And he's grown up feeling emasculated for whatever reason because he didn't he wasn't able to protect his family. So he was able to protect Lori. He was able to protect Lindsay.
And now he gets a chance.
Now he's like, yeah, he's felt weakened. And now he's like, I can do this now. I'm the grown up. I can take care of myself. I'm going to finish what I should have been able to do a long time ago. No, of course he shouldn't have been able to do it. He was a fucking kid. He was a fucking 8-year-old kid, whatever he was back then. He shouldn't have been able to do that. But that's how the mind works.
Well, and he's also hearing what he was taught, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What makes that moment when he goes into the hospital room with Lori and he goes, I'm finally going to protect you. It's my chance to finally give back to you the thing that you gave me because you saved me. Yes. You gave me my life. Now I get to protect you. It's such a great moment.
I love that moment so much.
I do too. And Anthony Michael Hall is really good in this movie. I think people are don't get me wrong. I would have loved for it to have actually been Paul Rudd, which was originally who they wanted. And Rudd only turned it down because he was doing Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Right. Totally.
And that's totally fair. And it's totally fine. And it's a bummer. But Anthony Michael Hall made the role his own. And he's super great in it. I love his first scene in the movie where he recounts the events of the first movie from his point of view. And he's doing it at that little at the bar where they're doing a talent show. And it's like kind of a somber-ish moment. Yeah. But it's a good somber moment because you feel what it is. And that's one of the things I like about this movie is that we see Tommy, we see Lindsay, and we see Marion. So we start to see more of the people who were around that night that are not just Lori.
Right. Yep. And they even find a way, which is funny to me, and I think it was very well done, to get Lonnie involved, who was never really, barely seen in Halloween 1, but you hear him and you see him, like, you get a flashback from Lonnie's point of view with Michael, getting up front with Michael, and it adds him to the story. And he feels like it's done so well that he feels like he was just one of the gang back then. Like they feel like a foursome have grown up with the trauma in their lives, and that's why they gravitated towards each other. And it works so well.
Even the Frank Hawkins stuff, right? Yeah. Because one of the things that I really like about this movie is that we do get a couple of flashbacks to the night that everything happened in the original movie. Mm-hmm. And they're so well done, number one. Like, ridiculously on point, well done, how great these flashbacks are.
It feels like I'm watching Halloween 78. It feels like I'm watching lost scenes or cut scenes from it.
Yeah, it's incredible how well done it is. And I like that it adds to the trauma of that night. Again, one of the things that this movie does well is you start to see the cracks of everyone around them.
Right.
And the stuff that Hawkins is living with, because we see that Loomis had the gun to Michael's face. He was going to kill him. Mm-hmm. And Hawkins stops him. He grabs his hand and pushes his hand up. He stops the murder from happening. He accidentally kills his partner instead of hitting Michael because Hawkins is a real bad shot. As it turns out, he can't hit anything except his partner.
Pretty much.
Which is a whole thing in and of itself, but I feel for him. And Patton is so good. Thomas Mann, who plays him in the flashbacks, is great. And that's what we also have to get to. Holy shit, dude. The dude who is Loomis under all of the prosthetics,
prosthetics and stuff.
Oh my God. The Loomis thing in this is remarkable. Dude,
I was waiting for you to end your sentence because I didn't know if you were going to say anything about it.
Are you kidding me? It's
Michael's coming here. No, that's what I was saying. I was waiting for you to stop so I can go, how good was Loomis? That's what I was going to say, was how good was Loomis? I watched that in the theater, wasn't expecting that at all.
Me either.
I saw him and I went, is this unused footage? I
thought the same thing.
It was that fucking good. I'm like, holy shit. What a great way to add Donald Pleasence. And I wouldn't want like a Dr. Loomis movie and they trying to fake it the whole time. Getting to add him in that flashback meant so much to me as a Halloween fan. And it gave it an authenticity that's what the film needed any more of an authenticity, but it just added that much more authenticity to it.
Well, and the one thing I've liked between these two movies, and I'm sure we'll say the same thing with Ends, is that ultimately you feel Loomis and his presence throughout anyway, because, in the first movie, you hear the audio recording and there's a lot of talk about his time with Michael. And then, of course, when we see the doctor, Laurie even says, so you're the new Loomis. Like, right. Loomis's place in this history is built into the world and you feel his presence still.
Right.
Because Sartain was the evil Loomis, as I called him, right?
Anti-Loomis,
Or the anti-Loomis, rather. So we have that character, but to see him again, I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, my jaw was on the ground. I couldn't believe how good it was. And then it was the question: was it a deep fake? What was it? And then to see all these pictures where it was like, no, actually, this is like incredible prosthetic work and a voice actor underneath just nailing the Pleasance lines. Holy shit, man!
Yeah, it was just somebody that was on set. He was like a crew member, I believe, to look at this, and somebody made notes. Goes, "Wow, you look a lot like Donald Pleasance." And they said, "Yeah, you know what? He does look like Donald Pleasance," and that's why I decided to use him in that way. That's right. The film's art director, Tom Jones Jr., is the guy. Has the art director of the film is the guy who plays Loomis because he looks like him. That's an amazing coincidence, and it's so like awesome that he was actually on stage, and that's where they saw him. That's just perfect. That it's like kismet, really.
Yeah, it really is. And again, not that the movie needed that extra like authenticity, but it's such a nice added bonus.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this too. I love that they even got Michael's movements down in the flashback. Like, it feels like the shape of 1978.
Oh God, yeah. When he comes out after the cop, Hawkins' partner there, my heart jumped.
Exactly where I was going. Yep.
Holy shit, man! I was like, oh my God, I jumped.
Dude, he moves fast. It's the one moment in it, honestly, where you start to see the bridge between Michael as we've seen him in the newer movies and Michael in 78.
Yeah,
I love that moment because that moment, it's shocking. He's quick. He grabs him. He's violent.
Yeah.
But then he's not totally violent because he doesn't, again, it ends up being Hawken who accidentally kills his partner.
Yeah.
Michael's not the one who does it.
That's right.
God, it's just so fucking good. And the flashbacks in particular really set this movie on such a cool, like, front. Yeah. I don't know. It really sets everything up in a really interesting way. And I'm always going to love it for that. And again, I would love to see someone take all the 78 footage and find a way to, like, actually insert it into the movie.
That'd be cool.
I'd be curious.
It's pretty much all at the end. It was the flashback all take place like after.
Yeah.
So you could totally do it. I think you could totally do it. By the way, I also want to say I like the minor little setup they have when Lonnie runs into Michael. He apologizes for tripping Tommy and everything else.
Yeah.
So it's that foreshadowing of, okay, probably after this, Lonnie probably actually went and found Tommy and became friends with him. I totally understand.
So good.
So good. All good. Yeah. And I wrote that down too, by the way. Speedy Michael, Brutal Michael from 1978. Such a good moment. Such a good moment. But then we go back to the real time frame. I got to love, man, speaking of Brutal Michael, I mean, I don't know about you, but this was not very, maybe people had a problem with this because it wasn't very Halloween feeling, but I fucking loved it. Was the Michael escape from the fire, defeating like all the fire for the first responders or whatever. I think some people had a problem with him like, fighting that many people at once, but I never had a problem with it. I thought because this is the film where we see a little more supernatural Michael.
Well,
he's able to.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And here's why I don't get bothered by it. Is this the most Friday the 13th, Michael? Probably.
Yeah, probably close to it, yeah.
But you know what, man? The movie kind of sets itself up on that by the time it's over. Laurie's whole last monologue explains the why of it all.
Yep.
The more that people are going after him, the more that Michael stays doing what he does, the more he is no longer man.
Yep.
And it's really pushing that supernatural angle.
I'm laughing because I had an exact note out there about Laurie's speech making supernatural happen.
Oh, did you really? See,
yeah.
You and I understand each other.
100%.
We both latch onto the same thing.
100%.
Movie, you don't have to, again, here's my thing, right? There are people who don't have to like this.
Fine. That's fine.
Fine. Whatever. But the movie sets out and says exactly why the thing is happening and what it's doing. Again, this movie is not subtle in its messaging.
No. And I would actually argue that the whole sequence with the firemen in the beginning is supposed to show you how he is. And then so what it does happen at the end with the thing that other people have a problem with, the coming back for the Tommy beatdown from all the gang of citizens there, it's foreshadowed. Michael is more powerful than you think he is. He is supernatural at this point. Your fear is feeding him, and the fear which has led the town to go beat him down is feeding him. And that's made particularly clear by Laurie. She flat out says it, and people still don't understand. Say, if you don't like that, that's fine. If you don't like that's happening, or you don't like that choice, I get that. I can't argue with that. That's your own a pretty good opinion. But don't tell me it doesn't make sense.
No,
it
because
does make sense.
100% makes sense. They set out to do it, and that's why Laurie even says Michael's created his masterpiece.
Yeah, exactly.
He wanted the town angry. He wanted their emotions. He wanted their fear, and it worked.
He wanted the chaos, and he likes the murder. Then he's getting both at that point.
And you know why?
It's art to him.
And again, because of the supernatural side to it, guess what we were talking about earlier? What was the one thing that we really hadn't seen in the movies? Haddonfield's reactions.
Right, and we do now.
And we do now, and he realized that, look what happens if you turn that up. Look what it did. It's really kind of brilliant. I'm not going to lie. Is it necessarily on the nose? Probably. But, like, what did you guys want? Everyone wants to complain about the fact that this old-ass guy playing Michael couldn't do the stuff he's doing because he's an old man. Well, what's the easiest way around it? Make him supernatural. Not that I really also don't think that, guys, Harrison Ford is almost 80. He'd still kick my ass.
And we're going to find that out soon when Indiana Jones 5 comes out.
Yeah, or Stallone, right? Dude's in his 70s, he could break my fucking back.
Easily.
And
not even look back.
Yeah, like, I think people get really lost in this idea that once you're past 50, you are no longer strong and you can no longer, like, operate. And that's not accurate.
Nope.
Not even a little.
Especially considering Michael's had little to do for these past 40 years, except for like just ground and grill. He's not like sitting there eating junk food, watching football games, and like that. That lives up goes soft.
That was pointed shit, man. God, I know I haven't been to the gym lately, but my God,
I was actually talking about myself. But
fair enough.
So I'm also closer to 50 at that point. But it is what it is. No, I get what you're saying, and I completely agree with you. And I wish people would. I feel like people hated this because they wanted to hate it, and they didn't. They're looking for reasons why they couldn't come up with this. It doesn't make sense. And I'm not going to go on too much more about other people's feelings because I do feel they're valid. Like if they don't like the film for whatever reason,
however, they're also wrong, and that's fine.
And but I just want it to be clear that I will argue against you if you say it doesn't make sense or something like that, because that's where you're wrong.
Yeah. And I'll say this too, right? Like ultimately at the end of the day, we all want our Halloween series to be whatever it is. And I guess my biggest thing with Kills that I don't understand from like major mega fans of the franchise, even though I assume that you and I are too, because here we are doing this.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you want out of Halloween at this point if this is not the movie for you? Because this is where you get to see Michael go full fucking Michael in the way that only any of these movies could have ever dreamed of. Ever. Like, this movie is Michael turned up to 11, being the most Michael version of himself possible. Like, this is the most violent version, the most brutal version, the most methodical version.
Yep.
Everything about Michael in this is the things that we've liked about Michael and actually getting to spend time seeing it. He kills more people in this movie than any of the movies almost combined.
Yeah, this is a big death toll for this one. I honestly feel like one of the big mistakes people have, I think people just want to see Halloween 1 over and over and over again. That makes them a good Halloween film. And that's not interesting because we've already seen it a couple of times. Halloween 2 is more of the same. Halloween 4 is pretty much a remake almost in a way as a remake, even though it's my favorite sequel. Halloween H2O is right up there with a similar storyline, except for it just shifted into a university instead of a small town.
Yeah.
Zombies Halloween 1, the one that's more successfully regarded, even though we prefer Halloween 2, half the movie is a beat for beat remake. And 2018 is pretty much a remake of the first film. When Michael escapes, comes to Haddonfield, kills some people. Kills makes it different, and Kill gives you a different angle, and so people don't want that. And that's what breaks my heart, because to me, take that swing. Even if that swing means you fucking fall on your face. Like, I mean, Resurrection falls in his face. It took a little bit of a swing, trying to do something different. Halloween 6 takes a grand old swing. And while I'm not exactly thrilled with the results, I actually really appreciate the swing.
H2.
H2. Big swing. And I'm very happy with those results. That's a good way to go about it. And Halloween Kills takes that swing. And the thing is, not even a huge swing for Halloween Kills. It's just a swing in a different direction, just a little bit. And people hate it for it. And I can't abide by that because that's just not, that's how films go to die. We're just going to say the same thing over and over again. You can see a lot of the same stuff in Halloween Kills that you want from a Halloween movie, yet there's enough in there to make it different and more exciting.
Well, look, there was 8 Friday the 13th movies in the 80s. Mm-hmm. By the time that the 8th film came out, the series was already languishing really badly.
Yeah.
Because the exact thing we're talking about. I love those Friday the 13th movies, but it's a lot of teenagers go to the camp, they awaken Jason kills them, he disappears into the forest, end movie. Like, That's it every single fucking time.
With minor divergences. You have like the comedy angle of 6, copycat of 5, but like
the carry of 7.
Carry of 7, which I do actually like a lot.
I do too.
But it's more the same.
It's just one of those things because the truth of the matter is the Friday movies suffered for the same reason. The Halloween movies suffered for the same reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have to be able to make change. We have to try to do things differently. It doesn't mean it's always going to work. Again, Resurrection's a perfect example of great idea, badly fucking mismanaged all the way through.
All the way through.
But Kills is taking a swing to do the impossible by taking all the things that people seem to like about most of the sequels, packing it into one movie, and then going, and by the way, Michael is super fucking supernatural, so get on board or don't.
Yeah. Some people have chosen not to. But all I say to them, bye. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, the more I think about it, the more I just get frustrated just because I'm just not sure what it is that people are looking for.
Right.
And I think you nailed it. I think they just want the first movie over and over and over again, which is why people like 2018 so much. And it's probably why I don't like 2018 as much.
And I do like Halloween 2018 a lot, but I see exactly what I saw in Halloween 4 for me, which is why I like it. I do like a little bit of it, but I can appreciate it when they take a swing.
I guess I should reiterate or say it differently. It's not that I don't like 2018. I like it quite a bit. I still rated it very highly.
Yeah.
But it's not like the game-changing version of Halloween, right?
Right.
When it came out, I remember people hyping it up as like the greatest sequel and all these things. And it was like, yeah, it's really good. But have you seen any of the others? Because I'm going to be honest with you guys, like, it's not terribly different.
No, it's not. But
I don't know, man.
The funny thing is, this actually makes so many good nods toward. I mean, hell, how the whole hospital sequence to me is basically a Halloween 2 homage. It's just the difference is instead of having an empty hospital, we're going to pack an entire Haddonfield in this hospital. That's what makes it different in a way.
And I actually prefer that angle. You know why? Because one thing I didn't think that we saw a lot of in either Halloween 2, not H2, but Halloween 2, but I guess even H2 in some capacity, no one ended up at the hospitals being like worried about how things went. And again, I think we also forget that original Halloween sometimes is real small stakes. It's real small scale, right?
Oh, completely.
But
how about the body count of that? You're like, oh yeah, there's only that many people. This is barely a blip in the grand scheme of things, honestly speaking.
And yet, for some reason, I still feel like we'd have people who show up. But Michael's 100%. Body count in 18 is so much larger that you start getting the town over there. People are angry.
Right.
People are furious because now it's happening again.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So this is not. It's the third time it's happened now. And granted, the one time was only the kid killing his sister, but now this Michael Myers has now killed on 3 separate Halloweens: 63, 78, and now 2018. They're going to lose their shit at this point. And by the way, speaking of the hospital, so happy to see Brackett back.
Yep, and it's the original actor.
Original actor, as old as he is. Charles Cyphers, good for him. And I love the fact he has 2 great moments. He has a moment where he hears the name Strode, and this goes, Lori.
Yeah.
And he has
and
that
he
memory.
looks over and he's like, oh no.
Lori, oh,
That's
no.
when he starts to realize. And then like
where's Annie?
Oscar's mom showing up.
Yes.
And you have all these people who are asking lots of questions, and the hospital's already overwhelmed.
And Brackett helps Tommy turn the tide because Brackett's as upset as the rest of them because he lost Annie so many years ago, and he feels guilty about not having taken down Michael when he had the chance because he lost his daughter. In a shot, by the way, you get to see Annie in flashback footage of actually Halloween 2, which is not technically canon in this universe, but that's kind of a funny little Easter egg there to me. But that's neither here nor there.
How about the Bob Odenkirk cameo?
Bob Odenkirk cameo is also spot on. I love that.
So good. So good. For those who don't know what we're talking about, there are shots of all the victims from the first movie, and they didn't have a shot of why am I blanking on his name? PLD.
Bob Sims.
Yeah, they didn't have a picture of Bob Sims, but Bob Odenkirk looks so much like him when he was young. They used his high school photo, which I think is such a great little fucking Easter egg. And I missed it the first time, but now I can't unsee it every time. And I'm like, oh my God, look, it's Bob Odenkirk.
Bob Odenkirk, right? Yeah, because I guess the producers couldn't get the rights to the footage of the original actors, so they went with Odenkirk instead. What a great idea. That's so fucking funny to me.
It's so good.
I just want to throw out there their bracket, of course, their bracket moment. He gets the good moment at the end where he's about to shoot Michael. Michael, it's Halloween. Everyone's entitled to one good scare. Love it. I love the classic callback. I'm a sucker for it. I'm the guy who does the inner chuckle on every time somebody in Star Wars says I have a bad feeling about us. It's a love. If you're in love with the franchise, you love it. And so don't come at me with any of that kind of like it's said too much or done too much. Fuck that. It's fun. And I'm glad Brackett gets to say it again.
I love that moment.
Yeah.
And again, it's also because Brackett finally gets his one-on-one with Michael, right?
Yes.
Like, that's such a big thing for me. And I'm sure that's why people don't like this moment, right? Because what does Michael do? He takes out Brackett pretty fucking quick.
Yeah. Eventually.
Well, here's what I'll say. Okay, I'm just going to talk about this sequence because we're on it. But I love it too. I love this moment. I love this whole scene because this is the scene that's done with Laurie's monologue talking about the supernatural and all of why Michael is as strong as he is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love this. I love that Karen gets involved because Karen is now realizing too, oh God, I made fun of this for so long, but look, it's real. So she and Tommy team up to find a way to lure Michael out of the house because they realize the one place he's going to go. And this is my only nitpick, but I know that the only reason we have to do what we do is because if they figure it out early, there's really no movie. But why didn't they all just assume that Michael was just going to go home?
That's a good point.
That's one of those things.
Well, I would argue, I'll give you two arguments. A, they didn't have a lot of time to stop and think.
No, I know.
B, everybody has been kind of buying into this whole he's obsessed with Laurie thing. Everybody has been buying into that. Everybody except for even Laurie. Even like that's why Karen's there. Karen's yelling the whole time, yelling, "Why isn't there security here?" Yelling at Allison, "You can't go out. Michael's coming here. You got to stay here and protect your grandmother." That's what's going on. Everybody's saying he's coming here, so don't think that until Lonnie figures it out. By the way, two things real quick here about Lonnie I want to throw out because I just remembered it. I love the fact that Lonnie talks to Allison and says that her old man sold him peyote. Yeah.
Even though it was flipped the other way.
He said it was Lonnie's old. I love that aspect. But secondly, this is my one nitpick and my one gripe. Lonnie figures it out, and then they go to Michael's house. I'm sorry. The whole time Tommy's been saying, you figure him out, are you furious? Call me. We'll get together. We'll do this over there. Everything's about this whole big gang, strength in numbers, yada, yada, yada. Lonnie brings a teenage girl and his teenage son to Michael's house. I'm going to go in alone. Not going to call Tommy. Not going to call anybody. Like, if you figure this out, you should be calling everybody and go, everybody, he's going to be going home. Let's go. That totally pissed me off. Not going to lie.
There must be a scene, too, where he calls because that's where Karen and Tommy show up.
I figured that Karen figured it out. Maybe if that scene happens and I'm happy for it, because without that scene in mind, we have to assume that Karen figured it out on her own.
Yeah, I have to assume that someone.
They should have shown that. They really should have. It really pissed me off, honestly. I was kind of like, this is so stupid. Like, you're better than this. You're scared. I mean, because in my head, I'm like, are they trying to make it? Because he said before, I never actually went into Michael's house. I was too scared because, of course, Lonnie, get your ass off the porch.
Yeah.
That's from Halloween 1. I think he makes a big deal. I never went in. I was scared. Like, is he trying to prove his like manhood now that I'll go into the Michael Myers house now? If so, fuck you, Lonnie, for being so goddamn stupid.
Well, especially because he did lie about going in there, which he admits to in the movie.
Right.
So I do kind of like it in some capacity in that regard.
Right.
Because they're stupid horror characters.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Lonnie's not the smartest guy, let's be honest with you. By the way, another one of the great Lonnie line. He opens up the box of tackles. Look at this sweet tackle. You know, like got all these guns in there. And Tommy's like, "You got a permit for all these?" Some of them. Yeah,
so good. And then you have Annie Matichak who like rolls up. She grabs a shotgun right away.
Yep,
Allison's like, ready to go. But this whole scene, like once Karen grabs the mask and pulls Michael, or like lures Michael out of the house, and the town surrounds him. It's so great because number one, I love the shots. Michael in the mask and the darkness and the way it's handled. And I love seeing the town finally rising up against him. Yeah. Like, you know what this reminds me of is like the old 30s Universal Monster movies that we were talking about earlier. They so frequently had the grab your torch and pitchforks, right?
Yep.
That's what this feels like. It finally feels like the return of that sort of narrative. Now, again, fine, you don't have to like it, but it definitely feels like a nod to that, where a town starts to fight back against the monster that they created while also becoming their own monster, right? We don't look badly at the original Frankenstein for being as on the nose with its story.
Right.
So why are we being so fucking hard on Halloween for doing the same thing?
It's a good question. That's a good question.
Number one. But I also like that, for better or worse, and I think this is why people get so irritated with this movie, it kind of does what the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre does with its legacy character, where they just go, you know, man, yeah, we know they're legacy characters. However, they're also just fodder for the slasher.
Yeah.
And they off them all very quickly once Michael finally stands up and starts fighting back. But you know what, man? It makes him more scary to me, because it also goes to show that it doesn't matter who you are in this franchise.
Right.
You are still game to be killed. And I think that's important. I think people miss that. I know that they want to see these characters back. I do too. But I was pleasantly also surprised that it killed so many legacy characters.
Yeah. A lot of people were very pissed about that, but I was not one of them. I'm glad that Lindsay survived.
Me too.
I'm glad one of them survived. Kind of a good person to have. Marion was exactly built for this kind of thing, I think. I think Marion was actually built to be killed. Like, she's a legacy character. Yeah, they did it before Halloween 20. HBO, exactly. Second time she's been killed by Michael. Good for her. Is she the only one? I don't know. She's the only one who's ever been killed twice by Michael Myers? Trying to think.
Because she doesn't die in Halloween 2, right?
She dies in Don't Just Halloween 20. Just H2O. Okay. But she's the kind of legacy character. She's like important, but she was never like a main character. So she's important, like, to get that connection. But I think I actually mentioned this in the H2O in our H2O podcast, that she's exactly the perfect kind of person to kill, because she has a connection to the original. Right, exactly. And I think that's a good thing for it. Ending up killing Tommy, that was actually a very powerful moment, because here again, we forget this is the second part of a trilogy, and the saddest moments should be coming at the end of the trilogy, in the middle part of the trilogy, because you have to go up. You have to be at your lowest. Your lowest is losing Karen, losing Tommy, who was a hero of the first film. Laurie now has failed in her mission. And that's the reason why Lindsay surviving is good, though. Because losing Lindsay and Tommy almost cheapens Halloween 78 in a way, because Michael still gets him in the end. So having Lindsay survive, I think, makes that palatable, if that makes sense.
I 100% agree with you. And again, it's why it works.
Right,
and exactly. I think that people get lost in that, like, weird... They get frustrated because, again, they're watching all these characters get brutalized by Michael. But again... Here's the other thing I love. I love seeing Michael standing up against all of them. That moment he stands up and the music starts to go the way that it does, and it's like dark and brooding.
By the way, that score, just a new score. You came like the additional synth stuff on the original Halloween score. Oh, good go.
I think Kills might be my favorite score in the franchise since the original.
Since the original, absolutely.
Right.
Like, I was gonna say I like the original more, but since the original, absolutely.
Yeah. My favorite. And this moment for me, the reason it works is because it also, again, not that the movie hasn't gone out of its way to remind us, but Michael is fucking terrifying in this movie.
Yes.
Nothing and no one will stand in his way. He's a monster. And that's why it works, because the monster fights back, and it proves to the town that they were not enough.
100%.
And guess what? Monsters don't always kill monsters.
That's right. And Tommy is actually a monster in this film. That's a part of what he becomes. And which is why I want to bring up another thing I want to bring up. Kind of like, I didn't actually formulate this until just now. Even though I think I had it up in my noodle somewhere during while I was watching. I told you already that I love the fact that Lindsay lived and then Tommy ended up dying. They actually forecast this in the movie because Tommy does become a monster to a degree. He has his goodbye with Laurie. He has his moment where he has a good kid, but he's the one that's firing up this not anti-Michael sentiment's bad, but this like inciting violence. And he is the main reason. That the innocent mental health patient is killed or kills himself rather. So he is the monster. That's why Michael kills him. Lindsay's big time, even though she's with Tommy the whole time and she kind of like acts like she's with him. What is the thing that she does in this movie? Her action. She saves the kids. Mm-hmm. She's not going out to not about Michael. She stops the car, finds these like punk ass kids who probably were more than the most annoying.
Who probably deserve to die. Let's be real.
Deserve to die. And one of them does die, by the way. It's another kid that Michael has killed. This one's off screen.
Yeah,
you just see the bloody mask or whatever. But Lindsay's act is, I'm going to pass on what teenage Laurie Strode did for me. I was saved as a kid. I'm going to save these kids. And that's why she doesn't die. She lives because she's not the monster. Tommy becomes the monster, and that's why Michael's able to kill him, and it makes sense.
Well, and that's needed, right?
Yes.
And again, I kind of like that this movie goes out of its way to do this stuff. And the whole sheep mentality of what Tommy creates in the town is palatable fear.
Yep.
And it's a flight or fight reaction that we, again, have seen in the real world. And yet it works. And again, Lindsay survives it because she is not a monster. She didn't let the trauma hold her back. And it's actually like, it's really interesting because I talk about a lot. I don't love the angle of Laurie all the way through in this trilogy. But in an interesting way, Tommy's much worse off than she is because it consumed him so much, it led to his death.
Absolutely did. It's a scary prospect for Tommy, but it's so well done. I think people don't really realize that, don't see that. I also want to throw out there, though, again, speaking of nods, of course, I think I might have mentioned this before, but I don't think it's specifically clear. Well, the hospital sequence nods Halloween 2. The Halloween gang angle was actually also a nod towards Halloween 4. Halloween 4 had this exact same sequence where a bunch of town members, a few of the drunk punk town members, did go try to find and hunt down Michael just like that. And people didn't have a problem with it then because it was more subtle, maybe that's what it was. But they do the same thing. They kill somebody who is an innocent person at this point. It's the same thing. So again, this is like a nice nod to Halloween 4, even though it's retconned out of the universe. This is a way to get that back in. You just take it and we're going to make a social commentary. We're going to make a more obvious social commentary because people might not have got it the first time.
Well, and you know what? Maybe we need to be a little bit more on the nose.
Yes.
How many fucking people don't think this stuff is going on? You and I lived through 9/11. I saw what happened to this country after 9/11. If people who want to talk about they've never seen this country more united, they need to go back and actually look at what happened.
Right.
Because it is not what you think it is.
No.
That was not united. That was fear and anxiety turned into flight or fight. Against a nation of people.
Yep.
That is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing we see all the time. This movie is just amplifying it. And if it makes you uncomfortable, that's a good thing. You should feel uncomfortable because it's fucking wrong. Yes,
you do. And that's a good point. It's a great point you bring up. We should be feeling uncomfortable watching these movies. These aren't movies to sit back and be comfortable with. These aren't comfort movies. Halloween should never be a comfort movie. Even if they are essentially for like really guys like horror movies.
Yeah, we like horror movies. Don't get me wrong. Like horror is my comfort genre. I admit.
Right, exactly. But the fact that this can make you feel uncomfortable is a good thing.
You're supposed to. Like ultimately that's the point, especially ones like this. And again, maybe it's on the nose, but the point of it being on the nose is because maybe it needs to be the self-reflection. You've probably seen these people in your life. You're probably related to people like this in your life. I know I am. It doesn't make me happy. I've spent a lot of time trying to right the wrongs of people in my life with how they've treated or acted against a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to break people of the thing that they are built to be over time. This movie magnifies that. Again,
100%.
you're not going to like that, and that's okay. But that's why it's also important, because art should reflect real life in some capacity. Even if you don't want to see it, it should.
Absolutely, and it does. It does. Something I wanted to bring out there, a completely different tangent of things that I want to make sure we get in there. I absolutely love the one bit of slow moment. Well, there's just a couple of them, but the one slow moment in this film we get is I actually really enjoy the burgeoning sort of semi-romance between
I knew you were
Laurie
going
and
to
Hawkins.
I like it too.
It's because it's well done, and you talk about they don't have to be subtle. This way, it is a subtle movie. This way, it started in 2018. We both saw it. They had this kind of like little I don't know, the connection there. And it continues in this one, and I love the fact that they invoke the name of Ben Tramer to do it. I always had a crush on you, but I always knew you had the hots for Ben Tramer. Great nod, great reference to the Halloween franchise as a whole, and I like Laurie and Hawkins together. I feel like they're a good team.
I mean, I agree, and I actually think that Patton and Curtis have really fun chemistry.
Yes,
they're really fun in this scene, and it makes you really wonder what it was like. And it's well written enough that I start to see what they're saying kind of play out in my head, and I can see the young Curtis, and I can see the young Thomas Mann in a bar having these conversations, like all of that. It's so well done. And again, it makes this world feel tighter, right? And again, it's a small town. So this history, this stuff matters. And we've talked about it before. A lot of people do not really think about or understand that this is kind of real life in these small towns. Some people live their whole lives there. So entire compendiums of history about families and relationships come out of that type of thing.
Yeah.
And this is such a nice nod to that in such a weird way. But it also shows that no matter what, Laurie still wanted to be human.
Yes.
She was scared. She was fucked up. She said it herself.
Yeah.
But she wanted a relationship. She wanted to be real. She wanted to be okay. And I love that.
Yeah, it was the one case where you saw Laurie trying to reach out to something that wasn't just protecting her and her family. It was a way of like, I can move on. This actually, and I bet that almost in a way, the real reason you like it so much, it does almost harken back to H2O. It's that kind of like vibe for Laurie, which is what you want out of her. And I think we could get that. So I feel like we could still get that. I'll have to see at the end ends. We'll have to find out. But I do like that quite a bit. I'm glad Hawkins is back for that. That angle won it out for me. I'm so glad that they decided to keep Hawkins alive. I think we said last time, I don't know if it was ever like, if Hawkins' death was in doubt, if like he was supposed to die, they just liked him so much they brought him back. I mean, either way, if that was a decision, good decision entirely.
It's a great decision. And, you and I talked about this a lot in the last episode, is that Patton was such a great choice to be like the new Loomis.
Yes.
Mixed with
Brackett.
And it stands out and it works so well because of him. And so him being back is such a nice change of pace. It makes me hope that he's got a lot to do in Ends as well.
Yeah, I hope so too. I really do.
I also just really like Will Patton. I think he's very talented. So I really just want to see him get a good ending.
He's very underrated. He's like one of those guys that he just doesn't get much love, but everything he's in, he is one of those guys. Like I mentioned last time I talked about Ed Harris. For me, he's one of those guys. You put him in a movie, he's going to elevate the movie no matter what kind of role he's in. If it's a small role, he makes it a better movie to watch because he's going to nail his role. He's going to be engaging to watch. I love it so much, and that's why I love Will Patton. He's one of my favorite actors, and I wish he would get more love than he gets.
Well, and I think that. For me, like we've talked about it before, you and I are both big on character actor types, and he's like the pinnacle of the modern day character actor, which is why I like him so much. And it makes me want to just give him nothing but good things because he's one of those guys that you can just count on him showing up and stuff. Remember the Titans, which is one of the few times he gets to like really lead a movie with Denzel, even though Denzel's the lead, but like Will Patton's clearly the co-lead of that movie.
Right, absolutely, yes.
And I just like this guy. I always have. And so to see him get to be a character like this in a franchise like this that predominantly didn't feature huge actors, right? Like, no one in these movies were like major presence in film outside of Pleasance until Curtis became one.
Right.
Like, you weren't populating these movies with recognizable stars. Right. Even Zombies Halloween were his recognizable stable. They weren't. Right. I mean, outside of Malcolm McDowell, I would guess that you didn't know a lot of them.
No. They're all either like never has been, never were, or I hate to use the word has been, but like people haven't gotten a lot of work in years and everything else. That's partially what it is.
I mean, what? I would say Brad Dourif is arguably the only other one that you'd recognize.
Right. He's not, Brad Dourif is not an A-lister kind of thing either. He's like kind of like a.
He is exactly what we're talking about.
He's another Will Patton. Right, exactly. And unsurprisingly, he's probably our favorite part about the Zombieverse, to be honest with you. Same reason.
By the way, dude, did you watch the Chucky premiere yet?
I have not watched that yet, and I really can't wait to.
Speaking of Brad Dourif, guys, Chucky season 2 just started this week.
It's just a weekly thing. It's not an all drop, right?
Yeah, it's a week by week.
Okay, good.
But that first episode back,
good stuff, huh?
I can't get over the fact that we are currently in a world where I am getting a Child's Play TV show that actually has Jennifer Tilly and Brad Dourif and all these characters from the movies, plus these characters they've created from the show, and it's good. Not just good, it's great. And it's fun, and it's full of just like debauchery and blood and kills. And I'm loving this show so much, and it continues to be great. So if you have not, please check out Chucky. Season 1, I think, is currently on Peacock and Hulu. And season 2 is airing also on Hulu. And I believe it's USA and Sci-Fi Channel who is airing it. Wow, I'm like a straight up just propaganda machine for the Child's Play franchise. Here's where all the places you can find to watch these things.
I was going to say, like, do we have a sponsor I don't know about? Is that going to happen? I don't know.
Fucking wish. Hey, if someone wants to get Shudder in contact with us, or Don Mancini and the Child's Play franchise, you know, anything, Bright Rags, Cavity Colors, any of it, Perfect. All of it.
We'll do it.
We'll do it.
Got a couple of last things I think we're going to touch on for Halloween Kills. I think we've hit most of the main beats we want to say. I want to ask you a couple of things. First of all, we'll go serious first. The death of Karen at the end was a little divisive as well.
Yes, it was.
Part of the main reason people said, "Oh, he was just like beating up the gang, and all of a sudden he's in that room again, and he sneaked by everybody. How did that happen?" That didn't bother me one iota, because to me, when you're having the gang beat down, he comes back to his feet and starts beating everybody up. You have the slow-mo while Laurie is kind of telling her story, kind of slow-mo-ish, while she's telling a story about him being supernatural and everything. So first of all, A, he's supernatural. That's what you're telling me. And B, slow-mo to me indicates that there's no issue with time. Because the time could be happening at a different pace. This all could happen well before the sequence where she decides to go in. We don't have a set time of it's not like you see them both on the screen and say, this is they're both at 10 o'clock at night or whatever it is. We don't know exactly when these are both happening. So him being able to slip by the house, which isn't that far away, like people seem to think it is. It's
it was not very far away at all.
Barely across the street and then through another yard. That's it. That never bothered me at all. Karen's death was very surprising to me until I thought about it. Karen's death should have been something I saw, because they're not going to kill Laurie, at least yet in the second one. They need to give her some kind of sense of loss, and that's why they have Allison in the first place. Because you don't want to kill off her daughter either, but if you have a granddaughter there, you can use Karen as the sacrificial lamb in order to get the Laurie and Allison versus Michael later on.
Also, wouldn't you argue that it's kind of important that Laurie feels like she fucked up, and even after everything, she still loses to Michael?
Yes.
It's really fucking important.
I agree.
No, sorry. I didn't mean
to. No, go ahead. I was basically just repeat what I was saying. So,
I really think that people getting up in arms about this, part of it is, I mean, look, like all of us, we all like Judy Greer. She's great. Judy Greer is super fucking talented. I like when she is in anything. She's very likable. Karen as a character has always been kind of a problem. It was a problem I talked about in the last movie. It was a problem here. And that problem is that she still doesn't quite get it. Even though she's been through it, like, she doesn't quite get the all of it. And she chose, for some reason, to go back to that house.
Right.
She should have known better.
100% she should have known better. Especially to go in that room, it like you're asking for trouble as a horror fan. If you're in a horror movie, I know you're not, you don't know you're in a horror movie, but you don't go into the killer's room and like wallow there by yourself and wait. It's like waiting for for death to arrive.
And if you don't think that's going to somehow to play into what happens and ends, come on, guys. Like, of course, this is why they're doing it. It's clearly some sort of setup for the last film in this franchise. Now, again, I'm not saying you have to like the direction it's gone, and that's fine, but it's just her death had to happen in the same way that Tommy's death had to happen. I think that ultimately they need to feel lost, because the other thing is that you have to think, the one thing we really haven't touched on is that Allison needs to feel lost in this.
Yeah.
And she doesn't lose just this. She also loses Cameron. Cameron was bad to her, but the movie starts, we really didn't talk about this, but Cameron realizes he fucked up. I mean, I'm not saying it's right or wrong or otherwise. He's still a fucking idiot. Yeah. But, you know, he 100% realizes he fucked up. He's trying to find any way to contact Allison because he wants to make sure she's okay. They kind of spend the night together searching for Michael, trying to hunt this down. And she watches Michael just like
obliterate him.
I was going to say, not just like murder him. Cameron gets it worse than anyone else in this movie.
Oh God, yeah. Like he's actually killed like 3 or 4 times. It feels like the way I got so death in this. And then
it was straight up Kenny in South Park.
Oh my God, he's not dead yet. He's dead. Like he gets thrashed down the stairs, and the best part is Michael starts walking down the stairs after Allison, and you think that he's dead, except for you do hear, I have the subtitles on. He says wheezing from Karen, and so you're Karen wheezing, and Michael walks down and stops. You're like, oh my God.
Dude, the way he twists that dude's neck around is
so good, so artistic.
Again, Michael's a monster in this movie.
Yeah.
But I think
talk about artistic death real quick. Just throwing in death there. The old couple towards the beginning after he escapes Laurie's compound there. The old Boston comedian guy. I can't remember his name, but he's actually a very famous Boston comedian. I can't remember. I wish he was his name. I guess I'm wrong. I actually remember seeing him in a lot of like the Red Sox movies, like when they were breaking the curse. He's a big Red Sox fan, I guess.
Got it.
Him and the couple there. He gets killed artistically, gets slammed to the ground, and then like thrown over the kitchen counter. And the wife gets killed with a light, like a lighting fixture.
Lenny Clark.
That's it. Yes, Lenny Clark. I love. I do like.
He's
Lenny
from
Clark.
Rescue Me.
Yes, he is from Rescue Me. Yes,
that's where I recognize him from. Now I'm noticing it because I had to look because you kept talking about it.
Yeah. He's a good Boston actor.
Yeah, if you guys have never seen Rescue Me.
He's great in that too. He's wonderful in that. But yeah, so the wife gets killed with his light fixture. He gets thrown over a table, and Michael like takes his time, like with all the different knives, like 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, now I can walk away now. It's so artistically done for Michael. It's so very Michael to do. Even when he kills her with the light fixture, that's what he does. The old head tilt towards him, watching like what happens. It's perfectly Michael. So this is like all the kills in this are very well done.
Oh, absolutely. And that's
I will throw one in there too. Well, I'm sorry, I got to cut you off just for one more thing. There's one kill I have to bring up that people I get mad about. If people got mad over the nurse or the doctor who's dressed as a nurse, she like tries to shoot Michael, and Michael kicks open the door and makes her shoot herself. And people got pissed at that. Like, well, that's not death. That's not Michael killing her. Absolutely fucking is. It's a great moment. It's a funny moment. As far as the death of the moment being funny, I think it's a great moment, man. Michael using it against her.
You know how funny it is to see Michael use a car door in that capacity? Yes. I fucking lost it when that happened. Like, I was cackling like a child.
Me too.
this is nothing like the theatrical cut of Halloween 6 where he's like blowing up people's skulls and shit. Like, they didn't do that, but that is so fucking on the nose and so Michael, number one, trying to protect himself, but it works, right?
Right.
It's a great moment. Are you kidding me? That's one of my favorite moments in the movie. That was the kill I was about to bring up, and then you tossed it back and it worked. So, I'm glad we're bringing this up because I don't understand. Like, I actually love that whole sequence. I love that it has the flashback to the first movie, like, or the nod rather, to him climbing up the station wagon.
Yep.
And Loomis and Marion are in at that one.
Yep.
And then the same hand coming down with Marion next to the window. Like, there's a lot of good in there, man. And then Michael fucking just destroys everyone in that car.
Oh, God.
And
it's knife right to the eye. Oh, it's so good.
The kills in this movie are great.
Yeah.
Again, talk about the opening with the firefighters.
Yeah.
Michael gives no chill in this because he's supernaturally just killing shit. Yeah. Now,
that's my favorite shots of the whole movie, by the way. Michael comes out of the burning house. The firemen are like, what the fuck is that?
Oh,
you see Michael walking out. You're like, oh, you're fucked. You're fucked. You better run, child.
And it works.
Yeah.
So fucking good.
So good.
So fucking good, man. I adore so much of what they do in this movie. And I just wish that people understood why it needs to be this way. And again, it ultimately doesn't matter. Like, you can either like it or you don't have to.
Right.
But, like, everything story-wise to me makes so much sense as the middle chapter of a trilogy.
Yep.
And I also got to say, this movie's pace is unrelenting. It is so fast. Like, it starts and it's over to me.
Yep.
I get lost in it so quickly, and it starts and ends. That's how it feels. I'm always shocked when it's over.
Yeah, same. All those like boom drops, like, oh Jesus, it's over. Damn.
Yeah, every single time, man. I'm just so into it, and then it just ends, and that's left me super excited for wherever we're going with Halloween Ends. Right? Like that to me is exactly why I love this movie, because it just makes me feel excited about more. It makes me feel like to me, this is what I wanted Halloween 2018 more to be.
Yes. I get that.
That's why I think I like it so much, because it feels more in line with what I was anticipating. And I'm not even talking about like the bloody mess of it all, but more just Haddonfield actually having to deal with Michael again.
Right.
And yeah, we don't have this movie without 2018. Sure, fine, fair enough. But this was the movie I wanted 2018 to be. So for me, this is why I come back to it so frequently. And it's funny, I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and he does not care for kills. And he's a big fan of 2018. And he's like, I'm not even going to see the new one in the theater. I just can't bring myself to do it. And I was like, meanwhile, I will be there opening day with the biggest fucking bag of popcorn possible, stuffing my face full, watching Laurie and Michael have one final battle.
And a big shading grin on my face. I can guarantee you that.
That's exactly it, man. Like, these movies, even when they're bad, they mostly make me happy. Unless you're Halloween Resurrection, go sit in the fucking corner and think about what you've done.
Yes.
So,
for the rest of your God-born natural life.
Oh, God. Here's the thing. I think that we should just really lay down right now. Anyone who thinks that this movie is nearly as bad as Halloween Resurrection, I mean, look, it's your opinion, but Jesus Christ, guys, like, Halloween Resurrection is actually a bad fucking movie.
I have a hard time listening to your opinion and listening to your what you recommend if you tell me that you like Resurrection better than this. I would say that for sure.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Anyone who has Resurrection above literally any of the other movies, honestly, I might throw hands.
You need help. You very much so need help.
But
you need your own Loomis at this point.
Man, I really fucking love this movie. And the more I think about it, it is so funny because I'm not like, I'm gushing about it, but I'm also being kind of shitty because I keep pushing back on the things that we see online versus like as much celebrating it, but we're doing both. But it just goes to show just how shitty the internet has been about this movie over the last year, that I feel like I'm making this podcast with you to literally do nothing but push back on the insane things that I've seen people say about this movie.
Absolutely.
Which also leads me to, I actually really like that in this version of the universe, the Myers house has continued to just be a house, and like people live in it. And I love Little and Big John.
That was the last thing I was gonna bring up about what we had, because that's one thing the one big part we haven't talked about. I love Big John, Little John so much, and yet they're divisive for various reasons. Like, I've read really random things, and I think sometimes there's reactions that I just don't understand, and maybe I'm not, because I'm not part of the community, but like there is some pushback at one point because they were like the first gay couple who are in there, and yet like they were used as cannon fodder, and Michael killed them. I'm kind of like, and I don't understand where the thing is, but I loved them as an openly gay couple in this universe. I thought they were funny, they were entertaining, they were real, they felt genuine, they felt like any couple I know, and they're dealing with like shitty kids, and they just got to deal with Michael Myers. So they happened to buy the house that Michael grew up in, and I think it fits absolutely perfectly, and I love them from everything. Everything about them was a good thing for me.
I agree with you, and here's what I'll say too, and I don't mean this to like step on any toes. So please bear with me I'm going to say it right now, like I am a cis white dude, so maybe my opinion doesn't mean shit on this. But I was happy to see a gay couple who felt like a gay couple that were just in love and happy, but also could be cannon fodder. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, anyone and everything in a horror movie should be fair game.
Yeah, especially for Michael at this point. Doesn't matter what you are. You're all, because everybody in Halloween is cannon fodder. Everyone,
right.
Every single,
and that's
Halloween.
Kind of my thing, right? Everyone is.
So I just love the fact, because they felt like a genuine couple to me. Like they didn't try to like highlight it or anything else. It was just kind of like that's who they were, and that's what I love to see. It was a normalization of it, which is something we all should be striving for in films. It shouldn't be a big deal to see this kind of couple on screen anymore. That's just where they are, and it's perfect. They're well played.
Could not have said it better. And I think that's why the other thing is I think it was last week, I started seeing people talking about Modern Family, and they were like real upset online about Modern Family, even though it's now over. And they were talking about this idea that somehow the gay couple on that show set people back.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there going, maybe, but also I feel like it normalized gay couples as a thing. And right. I think that we need that sort of thing being front and center of a sitcom, in a horror film, wherever it is, because the truth of the matter is we have a lot of people who still just, for some reason, can't get over the fact that people are going to bed different people in their lives.
Fall in love, and they're going to fall in love with different people.
And it doesn't matter what your gender or your orientation is. We just need to normalize people being in love with the people that they love.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Again, two mediocre cis white dudes. So if we are missing something, I would apologize and say, we don't have your experience. And that's it. Let us know. Explain it to us, because we're coming clean, so we don't get, I didn't get the backlash from it. So if someone wants to explain it to me, I'm always open for conversation, because I love it. But I did love these characters quite a bit. They're fun. They're entertaining. I love watching Big John dancing to the spooky music. That was a great character moment. He's like singing and dancing with the. It's such a good moment. They're watching movies together. That's the movie they watch is what Minnie and Moskovitz during the conversation. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not even about them being gay. Like, I love their relationship is like a fun relationship to see. I love watching them having the honey, watching the movies together. It set up a great moment so that when they are killed later on, you felt for them. They weren't. That's the thing. They weren't just cannon fodder, because I actually felt for these characters. I didn't really want them to die.
They were two of my favorite additions to the movie.
100%. But that makes you care about them when they go.
I also just want to say I just really like Michael McDonald. Because he's Little John.
Yes.
He's been a comedian I've liked for a long time. He's always popped into things. He's like in all three Austin Powers movies. He's always played different characters. He was actually in Leprechaun 2 back in the day. But the most
That's right.
For me, the thing that I always think about the most, he was the voice of Gandhi back in Clone High.
That's right.
And of course he was in Scrubs. He played Mike Davis, and he was like kind of recurred throughout the show, and Mike was a weird kind of character that always stuck out to me, and he's just really talented. So it was fun to see him pop up in here, because he was a dude who I'd liked for a long time, and it was just fun these characters are great, and it actually adds to this idea that ultimately Haddonfield had to move on. So someone had to live in the house, right? Because that was a thing that I had talked about in the past, is that it was always kind of weird. Either people lived there and didn't seem to know the history, or the house was just abandoned. I liked in this one that not only was the house lived in, but it was also with the history of it, so that they fuck with the little kids who come to their door who try to prank them on Halloween and steal the candy.
Yes.
So then they fuck with them and talk about Michael's history.
Right. I love it.
It's a great moment, man.
It is. It really is.
I don't know. I love this fucking movie, is what I'm getting at. And I just wish that people could understand that Halloween Kills is actually really fucking good.
Yep. 100%. So speaking of that, it's time to rank them. It's time to rate it. Why not? Again,
I'm ready.
We'll throw it out there. I'm gonna, like I said, we always try to tell you what came before to kind of give us maybe it's a little bit of a stalling tactic, but we'll find out. From 1 to 11, because we always turn up to 11 on PLD projects. Halloween 1978, we both gave it an 11. Halloween 2, I gave it a 4.5. You gave it a 5.5. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, I gave it 8. You gave a 9.5. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, I gave a 10. You gave an 8. Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, I gave a 4. You gave a 3. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers theatrical cut, I gave a 2. You gave a 4.5. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers producer's cut, 3.5 from me, 5.5 from you. Halloween H2O, a 9 from me, a 9.5 from you. Halloween Resurrection, a 1.5 from me, a 1 from you. Halloween 2007, I give it a 6. You also give it a 6. Halloween 2, I gave a 9. You gave it an 8.5. 2018, I gave an 8.5. You gave a 7.5. So here we are with Halloween Kills. It's moment of truth.
I'd just like to take this moment to let the internet know you're about to be really fucking mad at me about all this. Because, gotta be honest with you guys, this movie's a 9.5, and there ain't no way around that shit. This movie fucking rules. I'm not going to hear otherwise. There's a lot of talk about why it's bad or whatever. No, this movie, as a Halloween fan, this was the movie that I waited for so long. And I hope that each and every one of you who's listening to my voice right now, who's driving their car or at the gym or walking your dog, and you're hearing this and you're like, oh my God, you cretin, why would you do that? Because it fucking rules. And you know what? Be mad at me. That's fine. That's okay. You don't have to like me, but you have to accept that Halloween Kills is a 9.5 from this guy here.
Wow, I love that. I love that a lot. Okay, I will say I kind of come back and forth. I kind of use the Halloween 2018 as my guide as to where it is, because it's obviously is the most similar movie we have as far as the same director, same concept overall. I will say I point out there are some negatives here which I didn't really talk about during our review too much. I will say the hospital sequences do go on a bit long for me. I think there's some things that could be trimmed. I think could be edited down a little bit overall.
Evil Dies Tonight, PLD.
But Evil Does Die Tonight. There might have been one or two too many Evil Dies Tonight, maybe. Nah, I like them all.
Actually, you know what? It was so funny. I was watching the movie this time. I meant to bring this up. They don't say it nearly as much as I feel like people make it out to be.
I exactly feel the same way. Like it was said first by Marion, I think, in the bar, and then like a few times in the hospital. That's really it. There's no real like.
I think it's mostly just a misunderstanding of the trailer.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because it is like really not in the movie.
Hardly at all. Hardly comparatively, not at all.
Anyway, so Evil Dies Tonight, Evil Dies Tonight, Evil Dies Tonight, Evil Dies Tonight, Evil Dies Tonight. I think I just said it more times there than they said it in the entirety of the movie.
Maybe you did. And I am going to give this a solid 9.
All right, I'll take it.
That's still better than 2018. For me.
I know.
So
I mean, I gave it an 8, so you know.
You gave 2018 a 7.5.
Oh, okay. Sorry, 7.5.
So I gave it a 9. There we are. So you can come, if you come out PJ, you better come swinging at me too, because we're going to go back to back, and we're going to.
You're all ready to fight. I really do.
Fight. Throw some hands down in this one, baby. I don't care what anybody says. It's a great movie. It's a great trilogy so far. I can't wait to see what it ends as. I kind of have the feeling we're going to have to fight for ends as much as we fight for kills, from what I've heard from some of the divisiveness I've heard so far. But I'm ready. I'm going in ready to like this next film. I'm hoping it sticks a landing for me. Hopefully it sticks a landing for you. And for all those out there who are on our side, I hope it sticks a landing for you as well. But we're going to find out very shortly now. And actually, by now, I'm actually watching Halloween right now. I'm actually watching the original in the theaters at this moment, I think.
At this moment, you are. Yes. In real time if they're listening
in real time. In real time.
Not that he was recording this while he was at a movie.
That'd be very rude.
It really would be. Unless you were the only person in there.
That's true. But I would think you'd also hear a lot more going on in the background of my recording at this point, potentially. But, but either way, I'm about to go watch Halloween Ends at that point. So I'll see you on the other side, my friend.
I can't wait, man. It's going to be so much fun, and we're going to be talking all things Halloween Ends like this week with you guys. So
great.
I, for one, cannot wait to see what David Gordon Green has in store for all of us. And his concluding chapter, if you will, of the Halloween trilogy saga that he set out to make. Yeah.
The Halloween franchise, as it were. I'm sure it's going to be picked up again at some point, because it'd be dumb for them not to. It's a money-making property.
Because I don't know how to tell you guys this, but evil actually doesn't die.
Yeah. Evil Michael Myers might die tonight. In this
evil might take a nap for a little bit, but it doesn't.
That's true. Evil got its head chopped off in H2O. We still have about 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 more films since then. So it's going to find a way to come back. Either way, thank you for joining us again. We love having you here with us through the entire Halloween franchise. One more to go. You want to get more involved with us, patreon.com/PLD projects. We're going to do some more Halloween stuff there. We're going to talk about the Halloween sequels that never happened. Only got one of those episodes in, but we're going to get more of those in soon, because those are fun as well. Want to throw out there some special patrons: Daniel Ramirez, Brandon Buckingham, Brandy Parker, Jeff Alterman, John Lastrina, Kelly W. Much love to you and all of our patrons to help me keep the lights on, helping this come out as soon and quickly as possible. We really appreciate you guys. Really do. And as far as the rest of the podcast goes, you're on this feed. You're going to listen to Crown Jewels: The Journey Through Queen, where I go through the entire Queen catalog bit by bit. On It's a New Day, Fridays, I'll be going through that. And if you're on the audio feed, you're going to find I'm going to do something new. The show on YouTube I do on the PLD Project YouTube channel called Class Action, where myself, Richard Eric Jarvie, Maddie Gunner, and sometimes this guy over here, we guest host for sometimes and everything. We actually haven't done one.
It's fun.
So it's a lot of fun. We take up 2 movies and everything else, put them up against, or actors or franchises or whatever, put them up against each other in custom-made categories and have a battle to the death, see which one is victorious. I started that back on Action Industries, the YouTube page of Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy, friends of mine and friends of the podcast. And I think I'm going to start uploading the old Class Action from Action Industries, Volume 1, as it were, bits and pieces up on this feed. So we'll have a third podcast on this feed. It'll be 2 mediocre white dudes on whatever film. We will have Crown Jewels: Journey Through Queen and Class Action. And if I do it quickly enough, I'll eventually start putting on the current Class Action Volume 2, the ones that have been on the PLD Projects channel. Those will go up as well. So I hope you stick around for that. Let me know what you feel about that. Of course, subscribe, leave me a rating, leave me a ranking. Do all the loving things, because we need all the love that you have in the world. And find me on Twitter at Paul_Tanuzio on Twitter. Come talk to me. I'm very easy to find. I love talking movies and music. So, PJ, where can the folks find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram over at PJ_Campbell. Like he said, you can find me here hanging out, talking all the things on 2 mediocre white dudes on film. You can also find me over at the PJ Campbell Network. Hey, I do stuff over there with Chance, sometimes PLD, and some of the others. We just do stuff over there. You can also find me on You Haven't Seen It, coming up very soon with Allison Salamoni. I'm going to be doing a deep dive on the Evil Dead trilogy with Allison, who has never seen any of those movies. She has now, but leading into this recording, she had never seen any of them. This is a really, really exciting one for me. It's going to be a lot of fun because, anyone who's listened to us long enough knows that I'm a huge Bruce Campbell fan. No surprise there. He's one of my favorite actors, and those movies were very formative for me. And it's also how much I love Sam Raimi, and it's why I love horror. So I'm super excited to sit down and talk about those. Like I said, it's only the first three. I'm not getting into the reboot. We're not talking about Ash versus Evil Dead. I mean, I may bring them up, but this is going to be a deep dive just talking about those first three movies and what made them so fucking special to begin with. So I'm endlessly fucking excited for that. And it feels weird to also say, I can't say the thing I'm used to doing anymore.
Yeah,
It's the first time I'm really not being able to say, and find us at the Movie Trivia Schmodown where we write the questions. Be nice to the writers. We're only human.
Yeah. Well, we still write questions.
You know what?
Doing the back of 7-Eleven.
Yeah, that's true. We're doing it behind the 7-Eleven. It's true. It's true.
We can't stop ourselves from writing questions. That's actually true.
No, we can't.
But yeah, that's it. I actually do have one trivia that I do have. If you join Christian Harloff's Patreon, the big thing, I am going to be doing some at a certain tier, the $25 tier. I'm going to be doing a monthly trivia match, a la Schmodown in a way. Maybe get some Schmodown guests on there as well, potentially. Hell, maybe I'll get this guy on here to do a match with people. I'd have to write new questions. I couldn't use the old ones because he has access to the old ones. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, though, guys, much appreciate your love. Much appreciate everything you've done for us.
We mostly like all of you also. I'm not going to say I love you because some of you are wrong about Halloween Kills, but we like most of you well enough.
That's true. Mostly. Until next time, stay mediocre. Evil dies tonight. Never underestimate the mediocrity.
Bye.
Bye.